Welcome to New Granada, where people come to escape city life. It has safe streets, clean air, good schools. It's a perfectly planned community, but something strange is happening. Something that wasn't part of the plan.
Seems to me like you all were in such a hopped-up hurry to get out of the city that you turn your kids into exactly what you're trying to get away from.
Something that could drive this town over the edge.
You're to take these home to your parents. It's to let them know about a special emergency meeting to discuss the problems about your people.
The kid who tells on another kid is a dead kid.
I don't know how many of us are willing to admit just how deep in trouble some of the kids in this city are.
Tension is rising.
You people talk about these kids like they're a bunch of animals.
Tempers are raging.
Your son and some of his friends are part of this.
My son and his friends are part of this town.
Time is running out. And something's got to explode.
I can assure you everything is under control.
They were old enough to know better, but too young to care. And now this town is over the edge.
You blow it! You blow it! You blow it! You blow it!
Welcome to You Blew It. This is the show where we watch turd sandwiches in high definition, reliving our childhoods, one Blu-ray disc at a time. My name is Thunder. Joining me in the Family Fun Center is none other than Roden.
Heyo.
Yeah. So this one's an interesting one. I've been sitting on this movie for a while, or you have, because I bought it.
Yeah, it's been over here.
Yeah. Arrow had a sale maybe a year or two ago.
Arrow's kind of like a Vinegar Syndrome type
company.
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
They're like one of the boutique.
I don't think we've ever watched an Arrow.
Yeah, I don't know if we have. Maybe we've rented one from Scarecrow or something. And
possibly. So do they do because this movie was it's full of like working actors.
Yeah,
to this day, like people who are still working as actors to this day.
Yeah.
Chock full of them.
Well, chock full, really?
I think so.
I mean,
we got a Matt Dillon. Very first movie.
That's what
right?
I think this was his first movie.
1979.
Yeah. The movie's called Over the Edge.
I'm just going to say right now, this movie's fucking great.
It does. It is pretty cool. And you can tell that I was saying Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, I mean, this
really kind of copied the vibe of this movie. And they did it well.
Different kind of storyline to a certain extent. But
I'm saying the vibe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm not saying
I completely agree with you. But different kind of storyline. I mean, this movie came before quite a few of these types.
Yeah.
Like teenage angst, teenage rebellion movies. Right. And it was basically a biopic of my childhood.
You're saying
not to the same extent.
New Granada reminded you of where
Indianola, Washington, to a certain extent. Yeah. There was Oh boy, I got some stories that this fucking just really brought up in my mind.
Yeah. It's funny. So. I knew nothing about this movie other than, like I said, when they have these giant sales, sometimes I just go through and things catch my eyes, like the covers of them, the covers or whatever, and honestly how cheap they are.
Yeah.
Like if they're really cheap, I'll go, like if they're like $5.99, $6. Sometimes they do like major blowouts, and you just have to keep going through and looking, and I was like, this one's kind of interesting. And then I read like the synopsis or whatever, and I was like, oh, Kevin Dillon, and kind of the story. I was like,
Matt Dillon.
Yeah, Jesus, Matt Dillon. God bless. I always do that with those Dillons. God bless. And I just watched, what is it? I
don't know.
God bless, dude. My mind doesn't work. I need alcohol for these things. I swear to Christ, to make me work better. No, I was watching Platoon.
Oh,
and Kevin Dillon's in that. I just watched it like last night.
Right.
Matt Dillon, who is the older Dillon, right?
Yes.
So I read he was in this, and I was like, oh, and I think Quentin Tarantino's like a fan of this movie.
I'm sure he is, man. It's very
Yes. Now you need
what's
booze.
the no shit. It's very pulpy.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the kind of like pulp vibe to it.
Sure, yeah. It's an interesting movie in that like it's well made. There's some really
good shots.
Really, like the cinematographer must have been pretty good because there are some really cool looking shots. It's for the most part pretty well acted.
The acting I thought was really well really well done.
Especially with a lot of kids.
Save a couple of kids.
Yeah, and I was gonna say like for the amount of kids that were in this movie, it was pretty well acted, and there's a lot of kids in this movie.
Yeah. Basically, synopsis of it is like weird, like planned community, small town Colorado,
New Granada.
And it's basically they just built like a whole bunch of condos, townhomes, subdivisions, and stuff like that. Didn't plan anything out in the town for kids to do.
Well, they did,
except for one.
But they didn't make good on it, remember?
No, they didn't make good on it. Yeah, they had all sorts of shit planned.
They're going to have a cinema and like a skating rink
and
all
stuff
this
like
stuff.
that. Nothing ever got built.
Yeah, they ran out of funding or whatever and didn't end up building any of this.
And then they were trying to sell it as an industrial park to some developers.
Yeah.
Now, and like what they didn't plan, what they really didn't plan for was that everybody that moved into this fucking place all had children, and so like a quarter of the population was actually children.
Yeah, under the age of 15.
Under the age of 15 with nothing to fucking do.
Yeah,
and that was kind of they did a whole kind of exposition dump at the beginning of the movie with a screen crawl.
The screen crawl too kind of implies that it's
based on a true story.
Yeah, it says like 110,000 kids were arrested last year for vandalism in the United States.
1979.
In 1979 or 78. I think it was 78 because this is 79, so it was
right.
It was talking about the prior year or whatever. And then it said it alludes to this is one of the stories, or it's worded in a weird way where it's like it's not exactly, I think, based on one news story, but it's taken a bunch of news stories.
Of news stories from around the country and kind of compiling it and putting it all into one town.
Yeah.
Which is probably, I mean, that's, it makes for a fucking fun ass movie.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quickly you get introduced to a young Matt Dillon. He plays the character Richie.
Yeah.
And his friend Carl.
Right.
And I think Richie's a little older than Carl, right?
It kind of seems that way, yeah. But Richie's the troublemaker.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon's character is the troublemaker. We all knew a kid like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single one of us listening to this, talking about this, we all knew a Richie.
Yep.
At elementary school, in junior high, and
Drank,
stuff like that.
Smoked, did drugs, chewed, and also the cops knew him by his first name.
Oh, yes.
Knew him well in town.
Yeah.
He was always getting busted. Totally knew a guy like this.
Yep.
Steered clear.
I knew quite a few guys like this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I didn't hang out with them because I was like afraid to get in trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean? But usually was kind of okay with them too. You know, like if I had them in class, I was always talking to them, friendly with them, and they were usually friendly with me. But I never took it like any further because I was like, I don't need that shit. You know, I just don't need to get in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, when you're in a small town and you got nothing to do, nowhere to go, like where I grew up,
you hang out with Richie.
You fucking hang out with Richie sometimes. It just fucking happens because you got no other options.
Right? Yeah.
And like the same thing with this town, New Granada. The only thing that they had was some really kind of rundown, like it looked like an old airport hangar.
Yeah,
like rec center for the kids.
It's almost like a
run by one poor woman that just has to fucking wrangle these shitheads.
But the woman was younger and kind of cool, right? So she was She was more like
was
liberal leaning and was empathetic.
Way more empathetic, sympathetic to the plight of these teenagers.
And she knew the importance of having a place for them to hang out.
when they first, the funniest thing of that like rec center scene too, when they like first introduce like all the kids like playing pool, they're listening to music, you know, they've got a record player in there and stuff. Richie, of course, is drinking in there.
Yeah.
Like,
openly drinking.
Openly drinking.
14, by the way,
out.
Richie is 14 years old. We find out later in the movie.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because, well, I don't want to...
Yeah, so this would have been like junior high level shit, right? Boy, it even rings more true for me. But there's this girl in there that's like talking about getting super stoned.
Yep.
And she looks like she's about, what, 12?
Yeah, probably.
11?
Yeah.
And she's wearing a tank top that says sexy bitch.
Yep.
And I just was like, wow, they made fucking shit like that back then too.
Yeah, you're right.
I never would have guessed.
No, me
never
me
would've
either.
guessed. I never saw a fucking tank top like that back in the 80s.
No way. Like, where would you buy some? Like, you can't order it from the internet.
And
today,
whose parent would allow their child to wear that shit?
Where in New Granada did she get that T-shirt?
No shit. There's no Hot Topic.
There's no
Hot Topic.
Didn't even exist
there.
back then.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You couldn't just cheaply order a made shirt for you that you designed yourself and got off of like, you know, I don't know, what is that shit called?
Like a press or
yeah,
something like that. Or the
whatever.
iron-on things that they used to have. But like this, there's so much nostalgia baked into this fucking movie, dude. The soundtrack is amazing.
It is amazing. Which
I want to own it
again. Like, well, I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to do because it's loaded with songs that were really big. Like, the Cars, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix,
tons of Cheap Trick.
Cheap Trick's got like 4 songs in there.
Yeah,
Surrender being one of them. It's like, and keep in mind again, 1979.
Yeah.
So 78 was when the first Van Halen album came out.
Right. These are some of the biggest songs in the country
at that time, or at least like getting set up to become big songs, right? Because I wonder, it's pretty wild. And then of course like the kids' bedrooms got, you know, Star Wars posters,
Star Wars posters, everything,
all that shit.
Yeah,
and it's weird because it's almost like watching like again. When you watch something like Dazed and Confused, it's obviously a movie shot in the 90s to look like the 70s.
To look like the 70s.
You watch this movie, and while I'm watching it, I almost feel like, oh, this is just like overdone. But no.
It's not.
It's a movie of its time. And
it's a perfect slice of that era.
Yeah.
Because that era really did kind of last into like the late 80s.
80s. Absolutely.
Like all of this stuff, like the imagery, the colors, the type of clothing, and everything like that, kind of carried over into the late 80s.
Yeah, because you know your school classrooms would look very similar to this was a wacky school, but the desks and everything, like I totally remember that shit because even when I was going into middle school, we had crusty shit from that time period.
Oh yeah,
you know,
of course,
especially in a small town, you know.
Yeah, and like a lot of the I love that. So the community that they live in, they like they show some of like the places where these kids live and stuff like that. And like Carl, the main character, his family lives in this crazy awesome fucking townhouse.
Yeah.
Like 70s style townhouse on a golf course.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like super kind of modern for the 70s era.
What would you call that kind of roof? It's like where it's like one long sloping side.
Just a like a single pitch roof.
Yeah. Those kind of buildings always put off such an interesting silhouette. Like you don't see stuff like it reminds me, like I said, there's a couple of condo places over in Lake Chelan that were probably built at this time. If you go to like Whistler, there's kind of like that kind of architecture in Whistler.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, and then when they walk in,
but it was at a time too where they spent more on the aesthetics. Of the place and how it looks on the outside too. Like nowadays, right? You go and you see condo buildings or townhouses and stuff. They're very bland.
Yeah.
Like, no offense.
Yeah, none taken.
By the way.
None taken. They're very much.
But they're very bland. They're just like it's easy to build. Like they might do, if it's a fancier place, they might do interesting stuff on the outside of it on the front, but the back is just going to be a straight cut, right? It's just a straight side, blah blah blah.
Well, they use this.
These ones
they
in
use
the 70s.
every foot space they can with the footprint
right.
of it.
They maximize the interior space by making it a perfect square.
Yep.
Right. But back then they were doing all sorts of interesting shit on the outside and making it look cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And then you go inside, and it's so like mid-century modern, but 70s style mid-century modern, right?
Yeah.
And oh man, it's fucking cool.
The staircase
Love
on the
it.
inside is so cool looking when he comes
open
in.
staircase.
But what a waste of space!
What a waste! Oh yeah,
because like his bedroom is upstairs, like in a loft, and so's their bedroom.
Right.
But
right.
like it's the rest. Like the living room is a massive open space with a massive switchback staircase going up. That was just like you could have just expanded the upstairs. You would have had the whole upstairs, but nah, you just kind of. Fuck it, like it's cool.
That's
looking
so
outside.
cool though, man.
It is cool.
Like, it makes it feel cool.
Yeah,
it makes it feel cooler.
They
got like all the hanging. Like this was the thing back in the 70s too. Like I think there's some stuff in like A Clockwork Orange that's kind of similar to this too. Like a lot of plants, a lot of indoor plants hanging from like in open spaces in like living rooms and shit. That look for some reason, dude, that just gets me.
What's funny though is when you get to the kitchen, it's like one of those very like boxed in, like tight
galley kitchens.
Yeah, with a ceiling, like a big ceiling fluorescent light. It has two long fluorescent light bulbs, but it has it's very cool to watch a movie made in like a very of its time.
Time, for sure.
So we come to find out that Carl's dad owns the Cadillac dealership in town, and we find that Carl's buddy Richie, Matt Dillon, lives in like Old Town, they call it. You remember at some point, let's go to Old Town. Let's go to Old Town. I think he's in like he's in like it looks very much
apartment building,
but like very much like a ghetto of the 70s, where it's like
totally
one side is where almost like a hotel, and like one side of the building is where everyone goes into their apartment, and it's just like
it's all exterior.
It's all exterior.
Exterior like entryways.
It's brick and it's like spray painted all over. Is that the one where it says, what is the line?
It says wide streets, narrow minds. On it. Which I thought was really, I mean, that's a very poignant for the story, right? It's like, because the whole town is consistently paying attention to like, property values and we're trying to like get more people to move here and stuff like that, but they're not paying attention to the kids at all. They're like, this was true of many towns, many cities. Back at this time too, because like both parents were normally working now. And it was like kids were free range, dude. This is where the latchkey kid comes into play. This era.
Yeah, right? It's interesting watching this thing because you hear like the police and the parents talk about things. You hear the girl that runs the rec center. You hear a lot of like, you don't have any things for the kids to do, so you can't shut down the rec center. And then the police are like, and the parents go, we got to shut down the rec center because nothing but bad things are happening there.
Right.
So it is one of those things where it's like,
what do you do?
What do you do? Hell yeah, it's like a little bit like you're kind of right, but then you hear the other side of it and you're like, no, but they're kind of right too, because it is almost like a circle.
It's a weird vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Or perpetual cycle that these kids are getting into. So basically, the first half of the movie is these kids just getting into fucking trouble.
Right? And hanging out at the rec center and just like you walk around
going
with
to parties.
Going like classic, by the way. One of the places that their clubhouse is like some condos that didn't get finished.
Right.
So it's like, dude, we used to go and play in houses that were being built around us in different housing developments.
All the time.
They always ended up being built, like unlike this movie where it was like they got halfway through and abandoned it or whatever. But like we would still go in there while they're building it and fuck around and mess around, steal nails, steal pieces of scrap wood to go build forts and shit.
I know we've talked about this at least on the main show, Stack of Dimes, before, but like in my hometown, there were so many abandoned houses, like just really, really old abandoned houses that were, completely inundated with vegetation and stuff like that. Like, and places that like where all their shit was just left, like it was still there.
It's interesting.
Dishes
There's
still in the sink.
Rural areas of Washington have that sort of shit. Like in Winlock and other small towns that I grew up in, like if you go up to Granite Falls, you would find a lot of that outside of Lake Stevens. But where I grew up within Lake Stevens, didn't have a whole lot of that. Like we might have one weird house out in the middle of some woods. That was always something that existed, that was rotting and doing that sort of thing. But they ended up tearing down the woods anyways to build a housing development. So they ended up getting rid of all that, Yeah. But yeah, I didn't have so much of that around Lake Stevens.
Yeah, they're pretty much, they're gone now in my hometown as well. Like they were all torn down and the lots were sold and stuff. But, that was always like we would go and hang out at this one that I've talked about endlessly, the Fuck House.
Yes, right.
Where we thought Ian Wiggers was fucking his girlfriends.
I mean,
turns out Ian Wiggers was only like 2 years older than me, so.
But was probably fucking his girlfriends, there, right?
Probably not.
No, damn. So Carl is the character that we kind of lived through, in that he's not quite a bad kid yet, but he's hanging around bad elements.
He's getting there. Yeah. He's doing drugs.
He is doing drugs.
None of the hard stuff weed. Like one of his other friends who looks like he's like 10 and is literally doing acid.
Yes, he's tripping at school. Mostly what Carl does is smoke weed and cigarettes, right? That's pretty much.
Yep.
Do we even see him like drinking at all? I don't even think we do.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But there's a couple of little plot lines going on here. Carl's got a crush on this girl in town.
Her name's Corey.
Corey is kind of seeing another bad boy who's a little older. So, he's kind of jealous of him and, kind of wondering why she's hanging out with this guy.
Yeah.
We also find out at the beginning of the movie, they put on a curfew because, again, they're trying to fix the kid issue in town. So
the
first thing they implement,
the cops are trying to curb all this like bad behavior and stuff. And the cops are like, it's just basically 2 deputies. In this town. And they're just fed up.
Yeah. So they put on a 9:30 curfew.
Yeah.
So, like the at one point you see them are hanging out at the rec place, and the lady that watches it is basically like, everyone's got to leave. It's 9:15. The cops show up and like, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So Corey gets beat up by the dude because he basically tells this girl Corey like, what you can. You can do better than that guy.
Yeah, but let's go back a little bit. Like, so that guy's character's name is Mark.
Right? I didn't know
Mark Perry. And he's a real bad kid. He's older. And in the beginning of the movie, he shoots at the cop car from the freeway with his BB gun.
That's right.
And he shoots and he hits the cop car in the windshield.
Yep.
And then Cole and Richie get picked up for it.
That's right.
Because they're hiding. They're like, hey, cops are coming. And they hide.
Yeah, this
guy... They
look
look very suspicious.
This guy was on these kids were on their bicycles.
Yeah.
So they're on the top of an overpass. They shoot the cop car with the BB gun, which shatters the windshield. The dude wrecks. And then they ride off on their bikes. Like they're going to get away from the cops on their bikes down the street. And when they see Richie and Carl, they're like, cops are coming. And so they hide behind like a junction box or something.
Like an electrical box on the street.
Box right across from the
rec center.
The rec center.
Yeah. And so they get arrested early on.
Yeah.
Or hauled into the police station at least.
And they don't squeal.
And they don't squeal.
Because this is the whole thing in this show too. They've got, apparently there's these young kids already have the ways of prison. You know, you don't rat on
They
people.
have a code.
They have a code. Like any kids that snitch get the shit beat out of them.
Yeah,
whatever, right? So, cut back to the guy's name's Mark. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
And he beats
Mark
him
and
up.
his pal that looks like a fucking Neanderthal.
Yeah. They these two guys beat up Carl when he's walking.
Beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forget why they did that. Are you saying?
I think it's because they. I think they just didn't like Cole or Carl.
How do you call him Cole?
They didn't like Carl, and they were like badass kids. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he did say something like.
He kind of got up in their face and was like, hey, you let us get in trouble for what you guys did.
Yeah.
And so they were like, hey, shut your fucking mouth and don't you say a word.
But then when
he was just kind of, he was just kind of at that party. Like, he was, Carl was just kind of up in his face about it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I think that's why he got his ass kicked.
And then he was basically like, you better not be talking about me to the cops or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
and so I think he was just like solidifying why he
teaching him a lot, like basically like
preemptive strike.
Preemptive strike. There you go. Yeah. So, mostly what you do is you hang out with Carl, you hang out with Richie. They keep doing bad things.
Right. Keep on getting into trouble.
The girl that he has a crush on, Corey, they think she's a prude, but it turns out she's not a prude.
Yeah.
And she, for some reason, steals a gun.
Yeah, So, Corey, Corey and her friend break into a house and steal a fucking pistol. And you just know that something bad is going to happen with this fucking pistol, man. Because they are like just waving this thing around. They steal some bullets for it, too.
The thing that was weird about this scene was the two girls are walking from like broad daylight. Yeah. They're walking at like, it's like a housing development that has a dead end street that goes into a field. And
there's townhouses again.
Yeah, townhouses again, whatever. Yeah. Like, and so they're walking on the sidewalk towards this like empty field where the road ends. And these guys are like coming on. Oh, they're riding their bikes.
They're riding their bikes. And this is where we notice
that
like, because we've seen this like in many scenes too. It's like, Richie is riding his bike around. He's got one of those big flag
long
poles
ass flags
with what do you call those triangle flags? Pennants or something?
Yeah, I guess.
Pennant
yeah,
flag.
I think so.
Like on the flagpole on the back.
And
those
poles are really
Richie
long
on it.
too. The poles, like those are the crazy ass.
Did you ever have a kid in your hometown?
Never.
With one of those flags? No, me neither.
I saw
but they
them
were
on TV
everywhere
all the
on TV.
All the time on TV.
Yeah.
Brady Bunch, shit like that.
I think I remember one being in Goonies. There was. I think I remember another one being in E.T.
Yeah. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Never knew anyone to have them.
No.
Yeah. And this got his
because
own
I
name.
would have beat the shit out of some kid if they.
You'd
had
have been
that.
completely made fun of.
Yeah.
So Richie's riding this around with the big flag that says
Richie on it.
It's awesome.
So badass.
So they see these girls walk and they pull up beside him.
Yeah.
And then Richie grabs a bag out of one of the girls' hands. He goes, "What do you got in here?" And he opens it up and it's a fucking pistol. It's a revolver.
Yeah.
And they're like, is this real or whatever? And like, let's go shoot it and all this shit.
Well, that's when we go to their hideout that's in the the house that's under construction. And they're waving this thing around.
Total after school special, dude.
Just fucking goes off.
She's
right?
like, because they're playing music and she's dancing and swinging the gun around.
with the fucking gun.
Pointing it at Richie, pointing it at Carl.
This reminded me of time. I was actually in high school at this point, but a friend of mine, Josh, found this old like Luger in his basement, and like it was a 22, and we were just rip stoned.
Oh boy!
And Josh is like, "Let's go shoot this fucking thing." We only had a couple bullets for it,
right?
But like there was duct tape holding the handle together.
Oh boy!
And it freaked me the fuck out. Like I was like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, of course.
Like I don't fuck. And we weren't like, nobody was really playing with it that much, except for my friend Robert was being a little cavalier with it.
Uh-huh.
And it really kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so I was like, well, let's go get some ammo from my dad. Hoping my dad would just like take this gun away.
Yeah, I'd be like, what are you guys doing?
What the fuck are you doing with ammo? And he's like, why do you need the 22 rounds?
Yeah.
No, you can't have the fucking 22 rounds. And so we go to my house, and everybody in the car is like, I don't know if this is a good idea, Aaron. I don't know if this is a good idea. We go to my house, and first thing my dad says, why do you need the fucking 22 rounds? He's like, oh yeah, well let me see the gun. And so Josh brings it out and shows it to him, and he fucking takes it, and he goes, you guys ain't shooting this fucking thing. Where'd you get this? What's your mom's phone number?
Oh, no.
And like
dude.
Josh is like, I'm not giving you my mom's phone number.
Oh,
He's like, well, I'm not giving you the gun. And so
you were a snitch, bro.
I was a snitch. I was a fucking snitch.
Probably
but
smart
that
move.
thing was fucking scary as hell, dude.
bet.
It was all taped together and shit. I think my dad still actually has it too.
My dad has a Luger 22 pistol that looks like a Ruger.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what a Luger versus a Ruger is. Is a Luger an American-made wannabe Ruger or something to that effect? I don't know enough, but when I would hunt...
That's a good question. I always thought they were one and the same, but maybe not.
Well, Luger is the German gun, right? Like the infamous... That's like...
No, I think the
Ruger is?
Okay. That's the infamous like pistol from World War II.
Yeah.
Used by the German officers.
Yeah.
Ruger...
I can't remember which one my dad had.
Luger.
But my dad had one of those, and he would have it when we go hunting in case a grouse comes out in the middle of the street. We shoot it with a little 22 pistol. That thing was so... You couldn't aim it. Many times he was like, oh, there's a grouse. And literally shot at the grouse 5 times all around the grouse because this pistol was never sighted in. And you could never get it sighted in properly.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like a...
So it looks like the Luger became the standard pistol of the German armed forces, first being used by German Navy, early 1900s. Ruger, so Ruger must be the American version of it? Know. Ruger standard?
Because I always hear Luger in movies, but always knew that my dad had a Ruger, but it looks like a Luger. It's like, interesting. Anyways.
Yeah.
So they go in there. They're fucking around the gun. Of course, she accidentally fires the gun, and Carl is like, "Ah!" And you're like, "Oh boy, I knew this was going to happen," you know. And then we find out that she didn't hit him, and he was just kind of like, he was faking it. And they're like, "Oh man, you know, that's crummy that you know that you're goofing around or whatever." But then they promise, they're like, "Okay, let's get more ammo for this. We'll come back tomorrow and go out shooting. You know, we'll go out for a picnic," or whatever he says. And we'll go shooting. So that shit's going on. Meanwhile, a kid gets busted at the rec center for having hash on him.
Yeah, this was the same kid that was on acid in school.
That's right, yeah.
A little bit earlier on in the movie.
And
he was always... Dude, that kid was like fucked up, man. He was doing all sorts of shit.
He had big buck teeth with giant braces all up in it. And we find out that it was the kid that sells drugs in town, like, told the cops on him or something. I don't know.
Because the kid that sold drugs got busted, and so he let loose that that other kid had hash.
Yeah.
And so the cops got tipped off, went and searched him. Now, this is also the time when, like, the people from the developers, the land developers from Texas are showing up, right?
Yeah, they're trying to offload this piece of land where they didn't build the roller rink, they didn't build the theater. They're trying to unload it to some wealthy Texans.
Right, for an industrial park.
Yeah.
And so, like, the cops show up to basically clear out the kids from the rec center, and then also search that kid's pockets and find the hash.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we heard there's a dialogue between, like, some adults at some point before this, and they said, like, man, we got those guys from Texas coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
We should really shut down that rec center. We don't need any of that shit being seen while these guys come riding through or whatever.
Right.
And so what happens is Carl Carl ends up putting a bunch of firecrackers under the hood. It was firecrackers, right?
Yeah, it was just firecrackers, yeah.
Here's what I don't get. So he put like firecrackers of some sort or fireworks under the car and under the hood of the car. And when the
Texas guys,
they're like staying in one of the
model
homes while they're in town, like looking at this land or whatever. But they come out the next morning, they start the car up, and shit starts exploding underneath. And they open up the hood, and shit's exploding there. How did Carl set that up? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea.
Like Carl, for I don't know, the 13-year-old. Yeah, he's a genius somehow because he rigged this up to when the starter fired up, it just let all these fireworks off.
Yeah.
And so those guys leave pissed.
Yeah, they're just like, dude. And one of the guys too, who's a famous actor, by the way.
You've seen him in a million things.
Seen him in a million
character
things.
actor with the Texas accent.
What's his name again?
I forget.
Darn it.
But he is in a ton of shit.
Oh yeah. Let's see if I can find him real quick.
So they're on their way.
Lane Smith.
Yeah.
He plays Roy Sloan.
On their way out of town, they like.
What's his quote though that he says to
this is what he was saying. It like he says
it to the HOA president.
That's right,
or the community like president, kind of mayor type figure.
Yeah, he's
constantly just trying to do things not really for the community, just to make money.
Yeah, and he's pretty good friends with Carl's dad.
Right.
And he runs around. We got to make sure we remember this. They set it up
the car.
right at the beginning of the movie.
The car, yeah.
He's got like an old 50-some convertible, and Carl's dad's it says to him, "We need to get you in a Cadillac or whatever." And he's like, "No, I love my old car. I'm going to run that, as long as it'll run." And it's like just real cherry 1950s.
Oh yeah, super cool looking car.
Yeah, super cool looking car.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder what's going to happen to that car later. Probably nothing, right?
Yeah.
So on their way out of town,
foreshadowing there.
Yeah, on the way out of town, the guy says something like, "Y'all moved out here to avoid this."
Moved away from the cities to avoid your kids turning into what you are turning them into anyway.
Out here anyways, or something. He said it a little bit more eloquently. And as the car
and then
off,
one guy in the car is like, "Well said, Terry," or whatever his name is. Well said, Roy.
Yeah, well said, Roy is writing off. And so now the HOA guy is even more pissed off.
Yeah,
he's like,
there's a bunch of great like kind of stuff like that throughout the movie that just kind of keys you in as the audience as to just like how these kids have just been straight up fucking neglected. Even though they're like, they're raised in nice houses, their parents are nice, their parents are good parents and stuff. Their parents are good people.
Yeah, they're not beating their kids.
No.
They're not,
but they're not putting in, they're not investing anything into the children either. Like even the rec center, it's just like in a dirt patch.
Yeah. And in fact, you see like Richie's mom, who's like alluded to as a single mom, I think. Like he's got a little
super nice lady.
Super nice lady. Even when she like picks him up from the police, down at the sheriff's office or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, what did you do this time? And he's like, oh, Mom, they're just hassling me. She's like, I heard something about a knife. And he's like, oh, it's just what did he say? He's like, oh, it's a nail file.
Oh, the nail file.
And then she like kind of laughs. And because it's one of those things where it's like, I know my kid's kind of gets into trouble, but it's really not, he's not murdering people. He's not, he's not, that sort of shit. So it's like, I've got a bad, wild kid, but I'm not gonna bust his ball. She's like very kind of liberal about it. Right? She's like very much like
which she probably shouldn't have been too.
She shouldn't have been that way. Like that's clearly, but like she's not like like you asshole, you're grounded or any. Like no one in this movie is that way, and I don't know if they want to show like this is what happens when.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that part. Because normally that's what you see, right?
Yes.
Like the parents being too overbearing, and that's where all the bad shit comes from. This one, it's like the parents are super nice, pretty liberal, but even like Carl's parents, like Carl's dad, like yells at him, right? And is like, don't talk to like you said, he calls his mom a bitch or something like that at one point.
No, I don't think he calls her a bitch. He just he uses a swear like
At
as
his
he's
mom.
speaking to her, and he was like, you don't talk to your mom that way or whatever.
Right.
But up to that point too, they've been pretty they had to go get him.
No, they've been pretty good with him.
And he was like, dude, you can't hang around with this Richie guy.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna
he's getting you into trouble.
He's getting you into trouble. You can't hang out with this guy. He doesn't come down hard on him. He just is like, dude, you can't be hanging out with this guy. I don't want you hanging out with him anymore.
Right.
You know? And again, like you said, you know, kind of like not doing anything about it. But the movie doesn't throw that in your face like
it's the main problem.
Yeah. Like
it's basically the main problem is that it keeps on throwing in is like the neglect that the town or the community as a whole has towards the kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like even the school, like the O is missing from school.
Yeah.
Right.
Not repaired in this
Not
nice
repaired
new
at all
community.
throughout the movie.
They've essentially given up.
Yeah.
There's spray paint that says jocks are
F words.
F words, not fucks. The other one, at which the F word is used like any red-blooded American 70s, 80s teen movies, thrown around like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. But when you do hang out with the kids, you never feel like they're terrible, worthless kids.
Right, because everything that they're doing is like stuff
they're fucking bored.
Yeah, they're bored as shit.
Of course they're going to shoot a gun if they find it.
Yeah.
Like, they're bored as shit.
Because all there is just endless fucking, like, meadowlands.
Yeah, like, they're oftentimes just hanging out in a field of, like, wheat or grass.
Yeah, right.
Or, you know, empty lots and shit. And it's like, I remember shit like that when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
If I went down to visit my grandparents in PL, Washington, you either walked into town to the one store that sold comic books, or you walked to the high school / elementary school, because it's such a tiny town, and played on the worst playground you've ever seen, or you went to a fucking dirt field that used to have a full-blown pool back in the 1940s that has been filled in with garbage, and everything around it has been like, there's like a merry-go-round that doesn't quite work and shit. That's where we fucking hung out. Like, we went over there and had cap guns and fucked around with shit, caught grasshoppers and all that stuff. But same sort of nonsense. I'm staying with my grandparents for a week, but like JD always says, you did everything in your power to avoid where the older kids were hanging out.
Oh, God.
You'd start walking towards the school and you see a bunch of older kids playing basketball. You're like, about face, let's turn around.
Yeah.
Let's go play in Grandma and Grandpa's backyard.
If I ever saw this kid named Troy hanging out at the pavilion in Indianola.
Of course.
Ooh, boy, you walk past that thing real fast.
Troys or Scots.
He wore a fucking, he had a leather jacket. He had a leather jacket, man.
Troy,
and
Scott,
a rat tail.
Or Todd, run away. Run away in the 80s.
Yeah.
Run away.
Yeah.
Like,
you see Sloan walking down the street, you fucking get to the other side real quick. Real quick.
Yeah. So,
Sloan was an adult, though. He was fucking
really
scary. Oh, yeah.
Good.
Sloan's still kind of scary.
So you hang around with the kids. You feel like
Sloan. That's the guy's name.
First name Sloan, or was that his last name?
First name is Sloan.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. So yeah, you hang out with them. They do the stuff that's kind of bad, sort of, but things do escalate with Richie.
Well, and it escalates because of the gun.
Because
right?
of the gun.
And you feel it. You feel it throughout the movie. Like, this gun is going to be a fucking problem.
Yep.
They take it out. They go practice shooting. Did you already say that?
No. I just said that they were going to go do it, and they did. There's this kid. I think
Carl and Corey their relationship is is progressing.
Yes.
They like each other.
She's kind of getting into him.
Yeah.
Her friend is not really into Richie, but she likes hanging out with him. And then the other kid that was doing acid or whatever, that was always high or drunk or whatever. There's this other kid named Johnny who's got a skateboard all the time.
That's the druggy kid's little brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he doesn't speak.
No, he's mute.
He's mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at some point they decide, because they have this gun, that they're gonna go to Johnny's brother's house, and they're going to, I guess, scare him for tattling to the police about their other guy who was busted with the hash.
Wait,
right?
Johnny's brother's house?
Yeah, you said Johnny the skateboard kid, right?
Yeah, the skateboard kid and the other kid that was on LSD, they're brothers.
Oh, they're brothers.
Not
okay.
the drug dealer.
Sorry. Okay, got it. So they go because I should be clear. The kid that's dealing drugs.
We don't know these kids' names.
Yeah,
by the way.
they don't say them enough in the movie.
Yeah.
The kid that's dealing drugs, the kid that's doing drugs, and his younger brother
are all
kids,
blonde.
All young kids with blonde, straight hair. Pretty much. And so they go and scare this drug dealer for telling on Johnny's older brother or whatever.
By pointing the empty gun because they don't have any more bullets.
They don't have any more bullets.
And then they light a firecracker. And they aim the gun at him, and then they light the firecracker, and it goes off, and this kid's like scared shitless.
And his mom is playing
tennis right across from the back deck, which is, again, these townhouses are fucking awesome. This
it's like
their back deck is like right over like a river.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
these places are amazing.
And while they're scaring this drug dealer kid.
Yeah.
By the way, the drug dealer kid is like. How old is he?
Oh, my God. Like
he looks
11?
He looks like he's
12?
11, 12, 13.
I think they're all around the same age, probably.
This
like
is
12,
the most
13.
absurd part about this movie. He's on the phone like going, I need like more supplies of shit, while his mom's playing tennis over across the street.
How are
what is going on here?
Dealing drugs. I mean,
stupid.
Where did I get my drugs when I was?
You probably got it from a kid that was in high school. You probably got it from like a 17.
Well, I think we got it from like older brothers.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. I don't ever remember like actually buying drugs from. Yeah.
You always got it from someone else who got it from.
Yeah.
I do love too, like every time they show Carl's dad, he's either has wine in his hand.
Yeah. Or a scotch.
Or scotch. J&B. Like every time.
That shit is nasty too, by the way. J&B, terrible scotch.
So they throw this kid in the water. His mom sees it, and she's like, "Oh my God!" But and this is what's also stupid about this movie is it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody's kid.
Oh yeah.
So when they do this, the mom looks over and it's like, "Okay, there's Carl, and there's Richie, and there's Corey." It's like what?
She shows up in a class, in like a chemistry class or biology class or whatever during the day, and Carl is told by the teacher to go look and like identify some plants in the back of the room.
Yeah.
And he overhears that mom like talking to the principal.
Yeah.
She's
Richie.
she's like pointing out kids that may have been involved in that incident. And so Carl's like hides kind of by these plants and then goes and gets Richie out of class.
Yeah. Like, you got to go, dude.
And
you
it's
got to
like,
go.
we got to get the fuck out of here. And so the police are coming into the school parking lot. They run for it. They go to Richie's apartment. Richie steals the keys from his mom.
Yeah.
Richie's poor fucking mom, dude.
Yeah, his poor mom.
God.
His little brother comes running out. And
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I want to go
like,
with you.
He's like, no,
you
little
can't."
buddy. Yeah, you can't.
And
Go back
all throughout
home.
the movie, too, Richie is just a fucking dipshit.
He is a dipshit.
Like a complete dipshit.
But in fairness, I knew dipshits just like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Like again, not far-fetched that he would steal his mom's car.
Yep.
And what else did he have? He said like, I grabbed the key, because he had
Grabbed the keys. He had the gun with him.
Is that what he went back there for? Was the gun?
I don't know. No, I think he went back to the apartment for the keys.
Oh, I thought
because they
he
were
went back-
gonna steal the car.
No, because he goes
No?
back. I think he goes back for the gun. And when they're walking out, he was like, "Look what else I got!" And he
Oh,
shows
that's
him the
right,
keys, and he's
yeah.
like, "Oh wow!" And they jump in his mom's sweet ass Bronco.
Oh yeah.
That he says, like, my mom only made 3 payments on it. The bank owns it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not how that works.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still making payments on it, dick bag.
Yeah, the
Like,
bank always owns it until it's
Why
paid
put your
off.
mom in a fucking harder spot than she already is? You fucking.
And if she
piece
only
of
made 3
shit.
payments, the bank would come and repo it. Like
Right. So they take off in the Bronco, right? The cops pull up to the apartment building right after they leave. But then, like, cut to Carl and Richie in the Bronco, like, driving down the highway.
Put on some rock music, man.
Some rock music. They're going to smoke some pot and stuff. And, and like, Carl's like, we got to get rid of this gun. You got to throw the gun out.
Yeah.
He's like, no way. We're going to hold on to it, man.
They put on Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, they put on some Jimi Hendrix.
And I think there's a throwaway line where he's like, all she has here is Hendrix, as if like Hendrix was too like
Hendrix was old at that point.
And he's like, that's all right, man, just put it in.
10 years removed.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't want to listen to this shit. I want to listen to the Cars, man. I want to listen to Van Halen
or some Halen.
Yeah.
But so then the cops catch up with them.
Of course.
What do they call that?
I don't know, like a
fucking
sheriff or what do you mean?
Why am I keep on thinking of race? They're racing. No.
A chase. But it's not really a chase. Like, it's not that fast yet. And then he keeps saying, just throw the gun out.
Right.
Throw the gun out of the car.
Well, they pull off. They go a little off-road, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when Carl's like, throw the fucking gun out. Get rid of the gun. And, of course, Richie's like, no women, no women. Nah.
And he rolls the Bronco. And they get out and start running.
Richie has the gun with him.
Cop runs
points
after
it at
Richie.
the cop. Cop shoots Richie. Richie's dead.
Yeah.
So Carl's on the lam.
Yeah.
And goes back, stays in the old constructed,
the condo,
half constructed house. His girlfriend Corey brings him a sleeping bag. They finally do the deed.
Yeah, they stay the night together.
Stay the night. And
I gotta say, like, one of my favorite scenes is coming up.
What's that?
So she leaves and she says, "What are you gonna do?" And he goes, "I'm probably gonna go back home, get some money, and peace out. I'll probably sneak in and get some money and peace out."
What does she say? I think I missed this.
No, that's what he says to her.
Oh.
And then she's like, "I got to get home before my dad wakes up."
Oh,
so
yeah.
She leaves.
Yeah,
and he says, "Yeah, I'm going to go home too and get some money or whatever and try to sneak in, sneak out." But on his way to his house, this is my favorite part of the movie. He's walking in one of these empty fields and he comes across Mark riding his dirt bike.
Oh, yeah.
Like doing cookies and shit.
In this muddy area. And and what's weird is, like, it looks like Mark rode his bicycle, because his bicycle is there with his BB gun that he used the rifle to shoot the cop car. And so he's like, he rode his bike to where his motorcycle is. I don't know what's going on here. And so he rolls up while he's doing dipsy doos out in the field, and Carl grabs the BB gun, shoots him
as he's like jumping off a ramp, hits him in the shoulder, and he just eats shit, like flips over this bike and all this shit. And then he gets up and it's all muddy and shit. And he starts walking towards Carl, and Carl's got the gun pointed at him, and he's like, "Hey, good shot, man." He's like, "I guess I deserved it. Now we're even," because he was the guy that beat the shit out of him. Right. And then they come over and they sit down on a log and they have this whole dialogue about, like,
well, doesn't Carl say, "So you live here?"
Yeah,
and
he's
Mark
got a
goes,
tent.
Yeah,
I
live here.
He's got a fucking tent, and I was like, this guy's just living in a tent and just gets on his dirt bike and just does
goes to school
and goes to school. And then he gives him some speech about, like, you're too young, man. I heard about what happened to Richie.
Yeah,
you're just a kid to be doing this shit. But you're all right, man. He has this heart to
you're
heart.
all right with me.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, Mark and Carl are in the same classes.
Yes. Yeah.
So does that mean that, like, I guess, I mean, it would make sense, right? Like, Mark's been held back a couple years.
Or is it just like Little House on the Prairie, where they don't have enough?
They don't have enough
kids,
right?
So they all just kind of go to the same
classes.
Although the school in this movie's really weird too. It's like this.
It's a fucking cool looking school.
It's like a lot of domes with a lot of.
It's very like mid-century.
It's weird,
kind of like 60s style.
Round domes with round skylights, and and
kind of have that wavy. There's those wavy roofs.
Yeah, the wavy roofs. And like the hallways for the cafeteria.
The cafetorium.
Cafetorium.
They call it the cafetorium.
We're gonna have a meeting tonight in the cafetorium.
Right.
It's got like all these round hallways and shit. It's really, really wild. So Carl goes home after he talks to Mark.
Right.
Goes in, grabs some money, and he's sneaking out, and his mom's on the phone with his dad.
With his dad.
So he picks up the phone upstairs and is listening in.
Yeah.
And
turns out there's going to be like a community meeting and stuff like that. They're both like super worried about Carl, and then Carl like chimes in and
on
is
the
like,
phone.
"I'll bet you wish I was shot too."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, they were just talking about how they're worried about you, and they're like wondering where you are, you dipshit."
Yeah, and he locks his parents' door.
God, being a teenager was
and bails
wild.
out the window. Now here's what gets real goofy in this too.
Yeah.
I forgot at some point there's this whole scene too where Carl, and it's playing in the background right now as we watch this, where Carl calls Johnny, the kid who's mute, and has him tap on the phone once for yes and tap on the phone twice for no. That's how he finds out that Richie's dead.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He's like,
that's confirmed dead.
Yeah.
Because he saw Richie get shot.
Yeah, but he didn't know if he was dead or not. And so he calls, this kid, Johnny, and he tells him over the phone. So what was weird now is we get to the finale.
Yes.
And all the parents go to this meeting. And what's weird to me is you don't see any sort of scene where Carl rallies the troops. It just ends up that all the kids, while the parents are meeting, are at the rec center.
Right.
And they all like grab bats, baseball bats, and all the shit, and they all start walking towards the cafetorium.
Yeah, they get to the school. They end up like locking all the parents. They come up with a plan or something. And
again, none of this
out
is
in the parking lot.
None of this
They bring a barrel and light it on fire.
Yep.
So they can have a
of
burn
course,
barrel
right?
out there. Yeah.
Wouldn't be a 70s, 80s movie without a burn barrel.
Some sort of burn barrel outdoors.
Yeah.
To keep warm.
He climbs up on the roof. He knows that he can open up one of the skylights, drops down into the science classroom, goes down the hallway,
locks these gates,
takes his bike chain off of his bike, locks, they have those, what are those called where you, they're like metal curtains that you, what are those doors called?
Just
like a hallway.
I think just a metal security gate,
like a
or something
security
like that.
metal gate
Yeah.
in one of the hallways. Puts the bike chain. They lock that up. They lock all the doors up. I thought shit was going to get real bad. I thought they were going to light it on fire and burn it.
Right, and burn all the parents and shit.
Yeah. I was like, no, what they decided to do is
just lock them in there and then bust the fuck out of each and every one of their cars.
Out of every one of those cars. And then, of course, they break into the cop car, which has like a shotgun in the back and all this shit. And apparently, you shoot a shotgun at like a 78 Ford Granada in New Granada.
Yeah.
And it
blows
will just
right up.
Blow the fuck
blows
up.
Blows right up. Fireball.
Even with a handgun.
A handgun, you shoot at a 1970s Nova and you shoot it in the hood. The hood will completely fly off and burst into flames.
Yeah, the whole thing will just fucking explode.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
amazing.
And
they're just fucking beating the shit out of windows. Like when they shot this movie, it must have been so fun. Must have been dangerous as fuck.
Oh yeah, but those kids were literally busting windows in cars, busting like
taillights, on top,
everything, just throwing firecrackers around and everything like that, dude. It must have been so fun to film that.
And the parents are inside,
so much fun,
watching this whole thing, being horrified.
Yeah, but the thing is like so. This was a great scene too because you're switching between what's going on in the meeting, in the community meeting, and what's going on outside.
While they're sneaking around
and doing all this stuff. But so the community kind of president HOA guy is just like, this is going to be bad for our property values and stuff. We need to make this town succeed and blah 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 blah. And then Carl's dad stands up. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about,
man? Do you care about our kids, or do you care about...
You're not talking about our kids. You're talking about like fucking property values. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
And so
at some
kind
point,
of a little shouting match ensues there. And then, of course, like the deputy or whoever it is, the sheriff, like chimes in.
He's like, I'm sorry that this happened.
Right.
You know, he pointed the gun at me.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
Yeah.
And then
and you're getting like all sides of the argument
Yes.
in this community meeting, which I thought was really smart.
Yeah.
And because it does, like, the movie does make you think a lot about, okay, who's right?
Yeah, who's right? And
And
one
they're
ever
all kind of right.
They're all kind of right, and they never ever like end up going like, "Yep, turns out so and so is right." Like,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
Whoop, looks
And
like
then the rec center lady like stands up too, is like, these are good kids.
She's-
They
and then
just
she-
need
yeah,
some
and she
fucking
goes,
direction.
"Was the
they
gun
need
loaded?"
something to do.
was the gun loaded?
Right.
And he was like, "Well, how am I supposed to know that? He's just pointing it at me." You
Which
know,
is a good point.
and he's
Also-
and the way he says it too, he's like, "I don't think he knew if it was loaded."
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because he's like a young kid. Like I don't, you know, so
It was
yeah.
all good points.
Yeah.
All valid arguments. And then all of a sudden it's like you kind of feel bad for the people that were sticking up for the kids, because then the kids just fucking
Yeah.
go ape
yeah.
shit
So the
and lock them in.
Yes.
And it's just like,
oh wait,
God damn it. Like, okay, you are just a bunch of assholes, animals. And like,
yeah, they look out the window and it's just
mayhem.
mayhem out. in the parking
Absolute
lot.
mayhem. Yeah. And so finally they get released, like more cops show up. They get released.
Well, it's funny too because the girl that runs the rec room, she ends up
sitting there
out in the hallway
right
smoking
next
a
to the metal
cigarette.
gate, smoking a cigarette.
And
And she
she's-
just looks so defeated.
Yeah.
Which,
And then she sees Johnny, the kid that's
the mute.
The mute.
Yeah.
She's like, Johnny, can you come over here for me? And he like
you
comes
grab me
over.
that. You grab me the phone in there.
Yeah, can you
And he
dial
does.
0 for me?
Yeah, dial 0 for
Yeah.
me. And he does, and then he takes off.
On his skateboard, which he
Yep.
clearly does not know how to ride.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then more cops show up. The deputy is just raring to go.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm
he's
going to fucking
livid.
arrest each and every one
It's
of
like
these kids.
any kid on the street, he yells.
Yeah.
Pick up any kid on the street.
He takes one of the state patrol cars or state trooper cars and fucking takes off, immediately finds Carl and arrests Carl. Now, in the car with Carl, the deputy is making some sense. He's like, dude, you're going to go away for probably a couple weeks.
I do enjoy too that whatever the place, the juvenile detention center was called, Blank Hill. I don't know what you're.
I think he was saying you're going up on the hill, which was like maybe where the location for
Okay,
the
'cause
juvenile
I thought-
center
'cause-
is.
'cause our-
that's what they kept on referring to. You're going to go up the hill.
Because our juvenile detention center in Winlock when I grew up was in
Was on a
Chehalis.
hill?
It was called Green Hill.
Oh,
And everyone was like, dude, Kelly did time in Green Hill. You knew every kid who had gone to Green Hill, and it
Yeah.
was a big thing. So I just assumed that this was their Green Hill. I was like, did they just call all detention centers
the way I
something
heard
Hill?
it, because it was hard to hear a lot of the dialogue in
yeah,
this
like all of
movie,
these fucking
always.
movies.
But I thought he was saying you're going to go up the hill or up on the hill or something like that. Maybe.
Do you know what your detention center was called?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Can't
Green Hill was
remember.
a fucking.
I'm sure I did at some point, maybe.
Because you drive along I-5, like if you go from going down to Portland, if you go through Chehalis and you just look to your left off of I-5, you'll see this I don't know if it's there anymore, but this
Yeah.
nice manicured lawn with this brick building and
Yeah.
all these weird little carts that go in and out of the buildings. Like you can put clothes
And that's
in.
a juvenile
Yeah,
center.
and
huh?
my parents are always like, "You keep it up, you're going to end up there." We drive by, for being loud or
like you
annoying
were
or
some
something.
sort of Richie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in the cop car.
But he's getting the deputy. This is the
Right.
point I was trying to make. Is
Yeah.
the deputy is making a lot of sense, and he's actually comes across as kind of yeah. He's like, dude, you are gonna go to this place. You're gonna go
gonna spend some
away
time
for a
there?
couple weeks, and when you get back, it's gonna be your choice. you need to get your shit together.
Right.
Is basically what he's saying. And then all of a sudden,
or I'll murder you just like I murdered Richie.
No, he was being nice. He was being like sincere about it,
was.
right? So it's like, it kind of like, because all throughout the movie, it's like, dude, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
But really, he just like, he wants these, because he even said it to Carl. He's like, I want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
I want to see you succeed. I want to see you do better. And then all of a sudden, there's Mark. Fucking Mark. With a shotgun
that he got from the cop car.
Shoots it straight at the cop car. And I don't know if he actually hit the deputy.
I don't think he did. I think he hit like the front grill, which
he hit the front grill. The
like,
deputy swerves so he doesn't run over Mark, and then crashes into the rec center.
Yeah,
and is knocked out. Carl escapes. Yeah. Doesn't try to help the deputy.
No, he like grabs
thing goes up in flames, explodes because there's a prominently displayed propane tank right outside of the rec center. Rec center.
Yeah, thing fucking blows up.
Basically, end of movie.
Yeah,
and but then you see all of the kids that were involved getting put on the bus and going away to the juvenile
it's like slow mo and the song.
Ooh,
child, things are gonna get easier. Starts playing, and he's like in the Mark's on the bus and Carl's on the bus. At least those are people. And as they go,
three kids didn't make it onto the bus. Got away clean, and it was the drug addict.
Yep.
His little brother Johnny.
Yep.
And
Corey,
the girlfriend.
Because she almost got blown up by like this car.
By Mark.
Yeah, by Mark. That's right.
Yeah.
And the entire time towards the end, and it's funny because
she's just like, I want to go home.
Yeah, I want to go home. This is nuts. And at some point, Carl was the same way because he was looking for it. He was like,
oh yeah,
this
he's
is
like,
nuts.
I've had enough
of this. I got to get out of here. So he's looking for her. He can't find her. And then that's when he's arrested and all, like they get separated. But she ends up being up on the overpass, and they're waving at him as the bus goes underneath.
Yeah.
Credits, end of movie.
Yeah. Which I don't know how I felt about that ending.
I don't know how I felt about it either.
Oh my god, dude! There should have been some sort of scene where it's like they're getting booked or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
or it's in court or some shit.
What happens to Carl?
I guess it's what the deputy was saying, right? Like he goes to the juvenile detention center for a little while, and
Mark's on the same bus. What happens to Mark? Because Mark
fucking killed the cop.
And Carl let it happen. He couldn't really do anything.
Carl was handcuffed in the back seat,
and it's not like he's going to be able to carry this guy out or anything. But
I don't know.
But still, it's pretty awful. I mean, at the end of
it's pretty terrible. Yeah. Like they didn't really give enough like emotional like weight to that moment, I don't think.
Oh, I'm watching this. Did you notice when he goes to his house to get his money and listens to him on the phone, his dad's commercial is playing on the TV behind him for the Cadillac car dealership.
I didn't notice that.
So while he's on the phone listening to his mom and dad, his dad's commercial is playing in the background. That's funny. Yeah, at the end, you're just kind of like, wow. That cop got killed. He didn't really deserve it. Although I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who's like, fuck that guy. He shot that 14-year-old.
Well, but he kind of redeemed himself, too, in the end because he was having that chat with Carl, too.
And he clearly felt bad about shooting the kid.
Yes.
We forgot the payoff. One of the cars that gets destroyed is our buddy with his 50s convertible, of course.
Is definitely, he's the guy, the HOA kind of like community president, mayor guy character is really the dude that like gets he's the bad guy of the movie.
He's pretty much
He's kind of the bad guy of the movie. But he's not all that bad either.
No,
he's just he just wants to sell land and
he wants to stop these kids from doing this shit. So he's just basically like always telling the sheriff, shut this down, make this curfew, shut the rec room down.
But even even in the beginning of the movie when he's talking to Carl's dad, do you remember this?
Yeah.
He's like they're just kids.
Yeah.
Like this kind of shit happens, man.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, it's peer pressure. Don't you remember?
Peer pressure.
We had it when we were kids.
That was bad when we were kids.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much gray area in this fucking movie. Like I don't know who to root for.
Well, but I think it's very, very similar to real life, right?
Very much so. Yes.
Especially, I mean, around that. I mean, I don't know if it's the same anymore, but it's like keeping kids busy with something. You know, the idle minds are the devil's playground. You know, or whatever.
Right.
So it's like they're bored. They're trying to figure things out. But the parents are also, you know, kids will be kids, sort of thing. It's like pretty. It just doesn't seem.
So what's the?
It doesn't seem dramatically overblown in the movie.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Although the end scene is very much overblown dramatically for effect of being a movie, right? But I guess is the antagonist of the movie is basically capitalism.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Huh. I think we fucking figured it out. We got deep on this one.
Well, yeah. You know, when you get so caught up in this shit, you better make sure you're providing for all. I don't know. All of the community, not just.
Right.
I don't know. It's fucking. What do we talk? What do we like? You know, I guess the good thing about this movie is. They didn't really preach anything to you.
No.
And at the end of it, they're like, we don't have answers.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
like, this shit happened.
This shit fucking happened.
Yeah.
But come to find out, we watched like maybe 2 or 3 minutes of one of the special features, and they do kind of a screen crawl thing where they explain like the movie took. Like the script or the story took like a bunch of different stories from around the United States that had happened and kind of put them all into one. And I kind of doubt that end scene ever actually happened.
That's wild.
But a bunch of the other stuff probably did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's still happening to this day too. So,
and they also explained that this movie apparently did not get a wide release.
Right. We need to talk about this for a second
Because movie theaters were afraid that kids would get maybe too rowdy.
No, I think it's stated that kids were getting too rowdy.
Is that what it was?
While they were watching this movie in theaters. And they said it caused like riots in the theaters, which I kind of took to mean like
just
kids were probably being loud, obnoxious, like
laughing,
screaming,
shooting,
hooting, hollering, throwing things.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Like it probably didn't cause what most people would consider a riot.
But it did kind of limit the release of the movie at that point.
Right. They basically just were like, we can't be playing this. Like, because I think for the simple fact that we just brought up is like, there's really nobody to root for.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of make this movie about whatever you think it's going to be about.
Yeah.
Or whatever you think you want it to be about.
And it's become kind of a cult classic, apparently, because it ran on TV. I've never seen it before.
I never knew it existed.
Neither did I.
Never knew it existed. This movie was fucking great.
It was pretty awesome, dude. And
it was so well made.
Yeah. And it's
highly
fun.
recommend watching this.
It's fun to see a slice of the time period that it's in.
Yes.
Because
very nostalgic.
I was born in 76, but most of my memories are of the 80s.
Right.
So, I was 3 years old when this movie came out, so it's kind of...
I was born in 80. Most of my memories are from mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, but a lot of this stuff carried over, like you said earlier. Like this, all this imagery, was around in mid to late 80s still, and this one does a great job of really walking you down memory lane. It's fantastic. I really highly recommend it. I'm giving it a 4.5. 4.5.
I was going to give it a solid 4 Blu Its. Yeah,
4.5 for me, man.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it.
Runs at a good clip.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long it was. Probably 90 minutes. Not sure. But it runs at a really good clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't it's kind of a little hidden gem, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Over the Edge, 1979.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon's Kevin Dillon's older brother. First movie.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Kevin older or is Matt?
I have no idea.
I have
no idea.
I don't know. But fucking A.
Yeah, dude, great movie. Thank you. Thank you.
Boy, dialogue. Don't know.
I think we got to go with the quote from Roy. You guys moved away from the city to make sure that your kids don't turn into what you're turning them into.
Great point. Great point, Roy.
Cut print.
Seems to me like you all were in such a hopped up hurry to get out of the city that you turn your kids into exactly what you're trying to get away from.